I had asked in my last haul video if you guys wanted me to do a video on the new Huda Beauty Rose Gold Remastered eyeshadow palette and then compare it to the original. So I thought I would go ahead and do that today, and I did do a demo using the new palette, which is the look that's on my eyes, and that'll be towards the end of the video if you're interested in seeing that. On the back of the box packaging that each of them come in, the old one comes with a sleeve and then the new one comes in a box. The old palette, it says on the back that it contains 0.63 ounces in the whole palette, and the newer one, it says on the front that it contains 0.59 ounces of product. So there is less product in the newer version compared to the older version. You're getting 0.033 ounces of product in each shadow in the new one, and then the old one is 0.035 ounces per pan. So I bought the original Huda Beauty palette when it first launched on her website when it first came out, and I was taken aback, first of all, by the price of the palette. I still think that both of these palettes, even the one that I love, the Desert Dusk eyeshadow palette, I think that a $65 price point for these palettes it's overpriced. When I got the original, one of the biggest things that I had noticed when I initially pulled it out, especially for that kind of a price tag, was just how cheap the palette felt. The construction of the cardboard and the cover on front, the whole thing feels very cheaply made. That was one of the things where I was like, ooh, for a palette that I'm paying that kind of money for, I definitely expected something to feel a little bit better. Now, I did mention in, I think it was my best of 2017, that the Desert Dusk eyeshadow palette was one of my favorites. That is still one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes. I love it. The new Rose Gold Remastered eyeshadow palette comes in the same type of packaging as the Desert Dusk. It feels a lot more substantial and a little bit more weighty. It just is a nicer make to the newer palettes. The price tag on this guy, $65, and I got free shipping through Sephora. So I like the packaging of the new one much better. I also like that she includes a sleeve inside the palette. Typically I throw these type of things away, but because she made it so pretty, I kind of like to keep it inside to cover up the shadows. I don't really feel it's necessary to have a sleeve in there, but considering how pretty it is, I do like to keep it inside the palette. I think it kind of adds a nice touch that it's pretty like that. The names are printed on the inside of the palette as well, which I do like. And then this one does come with a pretty large mirror. It doesn't hold itself up. It does flip all the way backwards. In the Remastered palette, there are 9 foiled shimmer shadows, and then there are 9 matte eyeshadows. I feel like the formula in the shimmers, which are the entire row across, and then these 3 right here, the formula feels the same in all of them except for one. The Moon Dust eyeshadow right here has more of a metallic powder type of a feel to it, whereas the other ones you can definitely tell that they have a creaminess, almost feel like a cream shadow to them, which it has its pluses and its minuses, which I'll get into that. But that's the shade layout in this guy. The older Rose Gold palette has got 10 matte eyeshadows and then 8 shimmery type of foiled shades. This palette contains 2 of those shadows that are more like a powder shimmer formula, and then the other 6 of them are more of that cream formula. The Angelic and Moon Dust shades are more like a powder formula, and then you've got Dubai Fling 24K, Rose Gold, Trust Fund, and then Blessed down here, which are that more creamy type of a feel. The biggest difference that I noticed between the creamy metallic shades from the new one to the old one is the old one is much more chunky, so when you would go to use them, it would go on your eye with a more chunky type of feel, and you would kind of have to break the product apart. Once you got it on, it was pretty. I did get some really pretty looks out of this, but it wasn't an effortless palette. It was something that I really had to work with, which with the shadows that are out nowadays, you shouldn't have to kind of put up with. The creamy metallic formula in the newer palette is much more refined. It feels a lot more smooth compared to the older version. I do feel like the older version, the mattes did have a drier type of a texture, and the newer ones are softer. Some of them still feel dry, but the pressed powder itself is softer. One thing I really noticed was the new matte shades in the Remastered palette have got a ton of fallout. Like, I have to tap my brush off and then I still have to brush fallout off my face. I didn't have that kind of fallout with the older version. Both of the palettes, for me, I was able to get nice pigmentation out of the matte shades. I do feel like the newer one, the Remastered version, blends a lot better, and I had to go into the older version and kind of grind my brush into those mattes to get that brush to pick up product more in that older version. So that was something that you kind of had to work with the older mattes. But but I was able to get nice looks out of it. So I feel like the newer matte eyeshadows do work better, but they do have a ton of fallout. I was just really surprised with the amount of fallout that I got. I do prefer the remastered palette over the older palette. I think the packaging is nicer, and I also think that the creamy metallic shades are easier to work with on the eye. With that being said, I only have decent pickup on a brush with one of those metallic type shades, and that's Pink Diamond. I do kind of have to grind my brush in there a little bit to get it on, but I'm able to use a brush with that shade. Any of these other ones, with the exception of Moondust, which like I said is that more powder type of formula, the other ones, I can barely get the brush to pick up any product, so I have to resort to using my finger with those shades. And I'm a big brush user when it comes to eyeshadows. However, with the finger, the metallic and the shine that you get when you apply these cream shadows with your finger is really, really pretty, and it's really intense. I believe they do recommend that you use your finger with those, but I still feel like you shouldn't have to be limited to not being able to use a brush in eyeshadows. But again, they don't pick up very well, if at all, on a brush. Very little. You can kind of see in the demo, because I used a brush on some of those shades first and kind of put down what that brush picked up, and you can see that it wasn't a lot, and then I went in with my finger and got the intensity out of it. One of the other things that was kind of a letdown for me with the new remastered palette is there is not a matte brow bone shade in this whole entire palette. The older one had a shade called Bay, which was a matte, and it was a little bit deeper of a brow bone shade for my skin tone, but I was still able to use it underneath the brow as a matte brow bone like highlight shade. This one does not have that. The lightest matte in here is this shade right here, which is called Demure, and it's more like a transition type shade. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom up close and give you guys some swatches. So here are the two palettes next to each other. The old one is on top and the new remastered is on the bottom. You have got Bubbly is a new shade inside this palette, and then Risque, Dollface, and Demure are also new shades to the remastered palette. The entire bottom row is the same shades on both palettes, and then you have got the same names in these metallic ones with the exception of Angelic, and then the new one right here is Pink Diamond, but they're arranged just a little bit differently. So let me go ahead and swatch the shades that are the same. So we've got Dubai, the old version, and the new version. So here's the old version and the new version. Then you've got Fling, the old version, Fling, the new version. So the new version has a little bit more maroon to it. So here's the old version, here's the new version. Then you've got 24K, the old version, and 24K, the new version. So here's the old, and here is the new. You can really see how much more smooth the newer one is compared to the old one. Next you've got Rose Gold, the old version, and Rose Gold, the new version. The newer one has got more pink to it. Here's the old one. Here is the new one. Then there's Trust Fund, the old version, and Trust Fund, the new version. So here's the old one and the new one. And then the last one is the shade Blessed, the old version. And then, where's Blessed? Oh, Blessed, the new version. So here's the old one and the new one. And then the last for the shimmer is Moondust, the old version, and Moondust, the new version. So here's the old one and the new one. You can see just how much more metallic the new one is in there. Now I'll go ahead and swatch the repeats of the mattes, which are only this bottom row right here. So let's go ahead, we'll start with the lighter ones. Let's do Sandalwood, the old version. Sandalwood. Here is the old version and the new version. Next is Henna, the old version, and Henna, the new version. So here's the old one. Here is the new one. Next is Man-Eater, the old one, and Man-Eater, the new one. Here's the old one. You can really feel the grit in that guy. And here is the new one. Next up is Cocoa, and that's the old one. And then Cocoa, the new one. You can definitely see that the old one is darker than the new one. So here's the old one and the new one. Then you've got Suede, the old version, and Suede, the new one. So here's the old one, here's the new one. A little bit more brown taupe in the new one. And then lastly, for the same shades, you've got the black. So here's the old one, and here's the new one. Here is the old one, and here is the new one. I was just going to swatch the new shades in the Remastered palette, which there are 4: Risque, Dollface, Demure, and Pink Diamond, 5, and Bubbly. But I'm actually going to, let me compare these 3 shades to these 3 right here for you, and then I'll go ahead and swatch Bubbly and Pink Diamond from the new one, just to compare them. So I'm going to compare Bossy from the old one to Risque in the new one. So here's Bossy from the old palette and Risque from the new palette. And that doesn't swatch worth a dang either. And then I'll do Flamingo from the old palette and Dollface from the new palette. So here is Flamingo and Dollface from the new palette. And then there's the shade Shy from the old palette and Demure from the new one. So here is Shy from the old one and Demure from the new one. So these ones all have different names. The top swatch here is the old one, and then the bottom swatch is the new colors. And then the last 2 shades left to swatch in the new palette, which are new shades, is Pink Diamond and Bubbly. And Pink Diamond, this shade right here, is hands down my favorite shade in the entire palette. It is a stunning eyeshadow on the lid. So there's Pink Diamond. It's beautiful. Out of the metallics, it's the one that picks up the best on the brush, although it does apply better with the finger. Isn't that beautiful? It's like, it's so stunning. And then here's Bubbly. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys. Now if you're interested, we'll go ahead and get into the demo, which is the look that's on my eyes right now, and you can see how they perform for me. I'm going to prime my eyes with the Tarte Shape Tape Eye Primer. I'm just going to put some on my finger from the little stick and prime from the lash line to all the way up underneath the brow. Then I'm going to use a brush to start. This is a Sonia G Builder 2 brush, and then I'm probably going to end up using my finger a little bit too. I'm going to go into the shade 24K using that brush, and to use the brush to get any product, I really got to like grind my brush into that shadow. And that's about what that'll put on. So now if I take my finger, I'm going to go into that 24K again and then go like this, and you'll see just how much more intensely those go on with a finger as opposed to a brush. Then I'm going to do the same thing with Trust Fund. Use the brush first, and then I'll show you with a finger how much more intensely it goes on. This one isn't quite as creamy as 24K, so a little bit might pick up, a little bit more might pick up. Now I'm going to go into that same Trust Fund shade with my finger, go over it. And I'm going to just bring it all the way out. Then using a Chicago GSN9 brush, I'm going to go into the shade Cocoa, and I'm going to dip back and forth between Cocoa and Maneater. They're both matte shades, and kind of get an even amount of each of those. The mattes for me have got a very large amount of fallout, and I have to brush it off right away, otherwise it will stick to my face. I'm going to brush the fallout off right away here. Then using a Goss number 4 brush, I'm going to go into the shade Sandalwood and put that right on top of and above that crease color. Bring back in the Chicago. I'm not going to pick up any more product. Let's give this a blend. Grab that fallout. And then I'm going to take Burberry's Trench eyeshadow on Isom G29 and put that underneath the brow before I lay down that other color. Then I'm going to take a Hakuhodo J5523 brush and go into the shade Demure, which is another matte. I'm going to put that through here. And then one more time with the fallout here. So there's the shadow done. I'm going to go ahead and finish up my eye makeup, and I'll be right back to put on some lips for you guys. For lips, I'm going to use Charlotte Tilbury's Lip Cheat, and this is in the shade Iconic Nude. I'm just going to go ahead and line them and kind of fade it inwards. And then to fill them in, I've got one of Givenchy's new Le Rouge Liquid lipsticks. This is in the shade 100 Nude Tweed. You like twist it up out of here, and some product will come out. Well, that matches that lip liner like perfect. These are the darndest things, these lipsticks. And there is the overall finished look using the new Huda Beauty Rose Gold Remastered Eyeshadow Palette. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to wear sunscreen, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.